So this project actually looked interesting. It will be the first time I ever cut nylon on my lathe, and being that this piece, you can see the crack in it there is in two. It was rather difficult to get a line straight to actually make a template to make a new one out of. Um, there's also bearings in the center that nylon bushing, I guess you could call it, gets press fit onto. And besides that, it's pretty straightforward. Both sides had intrusions on them. The one side with the large spacer, I'm just going to make a separate piece for that instead of trying to mill it all to one piece. And on the other side, it was easy enough just to, for the most part, get that milled out and then just do a little bit of hand filing that to get it to look what it should look like. Unfortunately, though, when I was actually drawing this out, I put the one protrusion that's facing down right now on this side, and when I cut it, I did not realize that it was mirrored image until the fact that it was cut, and at that point, it was time to start again because I was just too far into it to be able to change it at all. So the first step on this was actually drill the two holes that are attaching this piece into the bike itself. Pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of room for tolerance on this. On the bike, there was slots that these would go into, so quite a and from there on in, it was just a matter of getting this mostly the size and leaving the one little area raised so I could get in there afterwards and clean it up a bit. And it actually had no purpose whatsoever besides aesthetics, but you know, learning's learning, and tried to get this thing almost as identical to what came off the bike. On this, it's pretty much at this point here, within a few minutes of starting to get this cut into shape, that I realized that I completely goofed up on it, and would have to start again. Also, that top belt there, it just didn't have a good enough abrasion on it, and ended up having to change to a much more gritty belt to grind a lot of this meat off in a you know, economical manner, I guess you could say. But again, um, it, it was right in this point here where I got about that far into making this piece that I realized it was broke. So the next piece that went on, it gouged, and it gouged bad, and I couldn't figure it out at the time. But when I look, I actually sheared off one of the screw pins that was holding my vise down. Um, I did order a Kirk style vise to replace it, but that's a little down the road before I get it. So I am going through here uh, with push pins to determine the size of the hole. It wasn't really necessary, you could just put a caliper on the bolt that went through and just give it a little bit of an oversize on that. But I figure, as an apprentice, might as well get used to the tools as I go through my apprenticeship. So anytime I get the opportunity to use some of the tools that I have, I do. So this is that space that I was talking about, and ironically, I'm glad by fluke I got it measured right. There was a flat spot on the spacer I didn't notice till after the spacer was cut to size. But if I would have put the calipers on that other side, like 90 degrees off, that spacer would have been a lot smaller than it needed to be. Nonetheless, I got very lucky on that and only had to make the one spacer, then came back and just cleaned it up a bit here on the milling machine. And again, this vise, it's going to be gone real soon. Um, the parallels would never be tight on it, and when it broke off that attachment there, that was the final straw. So the beginning of the nylon, I figured I'd cut a piece of long enough to keep it close to the chuck, but give me enough room to do what I had to do, and a little bit extra there, so be it. My saw, as you can see, still is not set up right. Um, I do have to say I really enjoy working with the nylon. It cuts so nicely, and and a real nice thing, like the shavings that come off on this do not cut the hell out of my hands. So that's always a good thing too. For this, there was a step, and I decided to cut the smaller step in towards the chuck. That way, when it came to time to part off, there'd be less material there to actually have to part off instead of having the bigger step in there. I also on the smaller step extended it to the range needed to have that step, which was half the dimension of the piece. Plus, I also added enough to actually get the cutting blade in on that as well. So again, my concerns here. Well, my biggest concern here with cutting this being a nylon, I thought if I wanted to put that parting blade in there, it would grab immediately and just make a mess out of everything here. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But for this, this actually had a slip fit on some bearings. So, take a 10 thousandths off and then measure it until I got down to 3 thousandths for a slip fit. And again, for the part in here, when I started this, being extremely nervous that that parting blade was just going to bite into that nylon and cause havoc, but it ran really true. So impressed. Like I recorded the whole process of parting it here, and it's not much. I think it's like about 30 seconds to part that piece off in total. And like I said, those shavings that come off that nylon, just like cotton candy, no sharp edges at all. So once that piece is on there, just a matter of throwing in the vise. And currently, my vise is not hooked up. I got a welding table coming in, and it's going to get hooked to that. But for now, it's just kind of sitting in storage. Those bearings went in really nice. It's actually just a socket on the back side of that, allowing that bolt to go through. And at some point, I'm going to get some new hands here because I seem to have a problem holding on to anything lately. So that's all got in there nicely. That is the piece that everything bolts together. So it's just a little bit of bench work here to get some of those grooves out. And again, these were grooves that were in there. I honestly didn't notice that thing broke, and it caught it a couple good times there. This is the third piece. The second piece just got absolutely destroyed with that. But I just taking a little air sander here and just cleaning it up. I was also very nervous on those countersinking, like the two holes there got countersink for the screws, and I was just really nervous on pushing those countersinks in too far, and having the bolt torqued up and snap that aluminum. But it's just a matter of cleaning that up a bit, and from there, just a little bit of polishing, and then the assembly. The polishing went really good. The videotaping of the polishing, not so much. It was just a picture of my shoulder. But that's the end piece right there. And it's just a matter of, getting that thrown on the bike and getting the chain on there. And it should work just fine. So, lastly, just a matter of showing it on the bike there. Everything's working good. Um, I did mention that that little spacer is high carbon steel, so it needs to be oiled a little bit to make sure it doesn't rust. And besides that, that change goes back and forth when it should between the higher depth and the lower depth, and it looks almost identical to the piece that came off.